Hi, I'm Krista with Abiding in Jesus. Today's video is about whether or not a Christian should vote. So we're going to just jump right in. I want to start with some verses in Scripture where it talked about selecting people in authority in basically government, okay? The reason I'm reading these verses to you is just to show you that it is there and that it's not a sin for any of those of you that may think it's a sin to select someone. I know some religions think that if you select someone and they go to war, you're kind of responsible for that, things like that. I just want to show you that the Scripture talks about selecting our leaders, okay? Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 13. Choose for yourselves wise, understanding, experienced, and respected men from your tribes, and I will appoint them as heads and leaders over you. Okay? Now, here they're talking about selecting wise people that have experience, respected men, okay? Giving you the example of who you're supposed to select, okay? Then you go into Deuteronomy 17, verse 15. You shall most certainly set a king over you whom the Lord your God chooses. We'll get in some other verses about God choosing the leaders. You shall set a king over you from among your countrymen. You may not choose a foreigner over you who is not your countryman. Well, when I read that, I thought, well, let me look up what countryman is. And a countryman is like a brother. It's a kindred spirit, you might say. It's someone you're like. Because think about someone in your earthly brother or sister. You're like them. You're similar in a lot of ways. And so when it says you shall set a king over you from among your countrymen, it's saying from among your brothers, among people that you are alike. Okay? It says you may not choose a foreigner. Well, the foreigner means maybe a strange person, a non-relative person, someone that's not you, not one of you, okay? It even says adulterous, and there it's referring to, there's a lot of times in the scriptures where God talks about the adulterous woman, talking about that the group of people or the nation that worships another God, because you're not worshiping the one true God, okay? So that's what that's referring to. So again, setting examples of how you're supposed to select. Proverbs 14, verse 34, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And this, I'm going to get into this in detail here in a minute, but it shows you that when you're choosing a leader, you better choose someone who's righteous. And I'll show you why here shortly. Psalm 22 and 28. For kingship belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations. Before I explain that one, I'm going to go to Daniel 2, 20 and 21. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. And he gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. So where he says he removes kings and set up kings, it says it. God does it. A lot of people will take that verse and say, well, I don't have control over anything. It doesn't matter what I do. God is the one who's going to select the king. Think of it this way. God is all-knowing. He already knows what we're going to do. He knows what kind of people we are as a nation. Do you think he wouldn't want someone to be in office that loves him, that honors him, or at the least will love and respect his people and care for his people? Of course he would want the righteous choices. I would say it's better probably to talk about the righteous platform, okay? Of course he wants that. But he's not just going to do it. He works through his people being the Christian people. So he's giving us the choice to do something. And then from there, he selects according to our choices. Then he selects. Is that clear? I hope that makes a little bit more sense to you. He doesn't just make all the decision in this world and we're just supposed to sit here and do nothing. We are the ones choosing right and wrong, and according to what we do, he does. Now again, he already knew what we were going to do. So it kind of gets in that weird, what do they call it? Can't even think where they say that predestination and all that. No, it's not predestination. We've got choices. Okay. Exodus 18:21. Furthermore, you shall select from all the people competent men who fear God, men of truth, those who hate dishonest gain, and you shall place these over the people as leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. In verse 25, Moses chose able men from all of Israel and made them heads over the people, leaders of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. And this is from the highest to the lowest judicial levels. Okay, so this is your guideline here. He says you select from the men a competent. Okay, I would say in this year's election that's a pretty important thing. Someone who fears God. We can see a difference right now. Men of truth, we can see a difference here. Those who hate dishonest gain. And those are the ones you set, okay? And this starts at your local level. This is kind of representing the local level. And then let every person, this is in Romans 13:1, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. So whoever goes in office, as long as they don't go against God, we are under them. Okay, do you want to be under someone who's going to be somewhat kind to you, or someone who's just a tyrant? Okay, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. So I think right now in the election that we're in, I'm just going to be really bold here. You've got one candidate who's been very clear that she does not worship Jesus. And I'm talking to Christians here. If you're not a Christian, I'm not referring to you. She said it there, and she's not a Christian. And you've got one that at the least will has been very supportive of the Christian faith. Okay, you've got one that is pro-abortion, killing God's creation, and one at the least is putting it into the state's hands. Okay, and we'll get into that detail, but this is where he says, and those that exist have been instituted by God. God doesn't want the evil one in our office. He doesn't want that. He's giving you the choice. What do you want? And for those of you who might be thinking about, well, I did vote last time, and they stole it. If that's your thinking, you're not mistaken. But I do believe God will work all things for good. It doesn't mean they want you to go, it doesn't matter, so I'm not even going to vote. That's where they want you. This is where you have to have tenacity to go, I'm voting again. I don't care that you stole it last time. I don't care. Maybe if more Christians would vote this time, they couldn't steal it. Golly, if there's 49% of the Christians are saying they're not voting this year, could you imagine if just 1% more would vote, it would change everything. But my goodness, could you imagine if 10% of them, I mean, they would really have to do a work to cheat, okay? To actually do that, to pull that off. But I say all that to say God gives us the choice. He institutes it, but he will put in office according to what we do, according to what we vote for. Are we sinning? Are we righteous? He's doing that. He's orchestrating that, but it's really off of our choices. He's not a dictator. God doesn't work that way. I want to read to you before we go on to where I'm headed. I want to read to you about evil kings. And a lot of this is in Proverbs 29. I just chose this to read about evil kings because you need to understand if you're willing to not vote and that puts an evil king in office, and that's where we're at today, then this is what you're going to get. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority and become great, the people rejoice. But when the wicked man rules, the people groan and sigh. What have you been doing for the last couple of years? Last, 3.5 years or so? I mean, prices are going up on everything. We're not getting paid anymore. What are we already doing? Proverbs 29:4, the king establishes the land by justice. That's the way it's supposed to be, okay? 29:12, I think there might have been another part to that. 29:4, let me look that up real quick. Proverbs, I feel like I'm missing something there. Yeah, the second part of that. The king establishes the land by justice, but a man who takes bribes overthrows it. What have we had these last few years with the war over in Ukraine? What is going on? Our money is going out, and that's to kill our economy. There are so many bribes going on, okay? So many. That's wicked king, wicked president, whatever you want to call them. Proverbs 29:12, if a ruler pays attention to lies, all his officials will become wicked. Yeah, it bleeds into it. So to think that, hey, I'm not going to vote, I'm going to sit out of this. If you get a wicked king in there, it's going to be the wicked Congress, the wicked Senate, it's just going to trickle down, more wickedness. Okay? Proverbs 29:16, when the wicked are in authority, transgression increases, but the righteous will see the downfall of the wicked. Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, which means no revelation of God and his word, the people are unrestrained. What have we had? We've had a president in office that is not one who has revelation from God. He's not interested in God, nor is the one nor is Harris. And so what happens? Look at our world. It's just gotten worse. Sin, all immorality is just out there in the open. They don't even try to hide it anymore. That's where we've been. That's where we're going. So as you consider to vote or not, ask yourself, do you want that to continue? Now, I want to go into obeying God in small things. And so I want to just briefly run over these, like in Genesis 6:13 through 9, and then in later chapters, it says it was when Noah was building the ark, okay? God told him, okay, it's going to rain. Well, they hadn't seen rain. So Noah looks like a crazy man, and he builds this ark for 120 years, but he does something. And when he does something, he gets on the boat. And what happens? God shuts the door. And then the rain comes. But Noah had to do something. If you want change, if you want something, you have to do something. We're partnering with God. We partner with the angels. We have to make a step and do something. And that's what I believe in our government. We make the step by voting. If that's all we can do, we don't think about whether or not it's going to get stolen. Don't think about, well, I live in a Republican state, and so it's going to be Republican. I don't even need to do that. Don't think that way. Just go and do make a little step. Joshua 6:1 through 20. The people walked around Jericho for 7 days, 7 times a day, and on the last day they blew their trumpets and the walls came down. They shouted. Then they were able to go in and take the city. Okay? Had they not done what they were told to do, which is to walk around that city for 7 days and 7 times, the wall would not have come down. And if the wall didn't come down, they wouldn't have been able to go and seize it. They had to do something. Okay? We don't see them just sitting on their hands and going, well, God's in control. He'll take it down. No, God wants us to partner with him. Yes, he can do it. He can do anything he wants, but we're not his puppets. He doesn't treat us like puppets. We have relationships with God, with Jesus, you know? Then it goes into, if you remember the story of Rahab, that was in Joshua 2, 1 through 24. Rahab hid the 2 men that Joshua had sent to spy on the area, and she did not turn them over to the king of Jericho. So they said, okay, we're going to leave. We're coming back to seize it. But she wanted to be, they saved her. She wanted to be saved, and she had to tie a cord of scarlet thread in the window where she had let the men down. So when they seized the city, she was saved. She had to put the cord in the window. Had she not, they would have seized that place, burned that place down. But she had to do something to be saved. Do you see where I'm going here? We as Christians have to do something for God to save us. I know there's not a man that can save this country right now. Yes, do I want the one who's willing to talk about Jesus, who I would say has a relationship with the Christians. He has a relationship with God. I don't know that personally as far as how close it is. I know God is dealing with him. But he's definitely on the side of the Lord. And some will say, well, I don't want to vote for him because I think at the end that he'll turn on us. I can't tell you that he won't. I don't think he will. But you know what? That's not for us. We do what we can do. Stop trying to predict the future. Stop trying to be the one that go, well, I told you so. Some of us don't even do anything because we want to be able to go, well, I told you so. My obedience is to God. You know, where I live, yeah, whether I vote or not, it's probably going to go to I don't want to get caught. It's going to go to Trump. But, and someone told me that. They said, it doesn't matter if I vote or not, because that's where it's going to go. I'm like, but I said, you're not voting to please the world. You're voting to please God. You're voting because you're saying to God, hey, I'm going to partner with you here. I want to bring in someone who will spread your name, when I say spread your name, will partner up with the Christians, who will protect Israel, who's on the side of good. I don't care if you don't like the man. He's on the side of good. And God is doing a work in him. Now, it'll be his choice what he does with it. It'll be his choice if he humbles himself. It'll be his choice if he listens to God. That's his choice. The same way we have choices. He's not perfect, but I'm not perfect. I am not going to throw that first stone. Okay? But you have to do something. You have to. Our current government, let's talk about our current government. You have at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, they were doing abortions there. And they were promoting it. It was a big thing. Okay, so now I'm talking to you, Christian voter. Is that what you want in your office? Those are God's creations that they're killing. Those babies are God's. And they're doing it blatant. They are promoting it, and they are celebrating it. And you don't want to go and put your vote in? Kamala told those 2 young men that were at they were at a rally. They came to her rally, and I believe they said something like, Jesus is Lord. And she said, I saw the video, and she says, you're at the wrong rally. You need to go down the way. I think Vance was there, somewhere else. So she told you she doesn't worship Jesus. She doesn't believe in him. And again, as a Christian, you're not going to vote. Genesis 12, verse 3, and I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse the one who curses you. This is what God said to Abraham and his people. I think it's interesting that it says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse the one who curses you. So this isn't just the country. Although there's a book, and I've ordered it. I can't wait to read it. A book that a man wrote, and let me tell you the name. Oh, I can't. It's on my phone. But and it's a book talking about the presidents and when they did something for Israel that God would approve of, what happened, and then when they did something that was not good, what happened. And it's pretty, what I've heard about it is pretty fascinating. And so God, it goes along with this. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those that, I'll curse the one that curses you. But I don't think this is just for nations. I think this is individually. I meet people who are against Israel for one reason or another. Maybe they think Israel means the church or whatever, and I disagree with that. But this is, believing what I read, I think you have to take this serious. And so again, another thing is you can look at the government that's in there today. And when President Biden, when his son, all the stuff that has happened with his son and the sex trafficking and nothing happened. That stuff is running rampant and nothing is happening. They don't care. They're part of it. I'll be bold enough to say they're part of it. I'll tell you what I think was happening at the Democrat National Convention. Because that is a satanic government, and it's a satanic government. I believe they do rituals and everything. And because whatever little deal they were making with the devil, when you make a deal with the devil, you have to sacrifice something. The babies that were being sacrificed outside that DNC, that's what was going on. Look it up, study it, whatever. That's what's going on. You have to realize that we're not battling against flesh and blood here. This isn't even Democrat and Republican. Because let me tell you, there's a lot of rhinos in the Republican Party that I would love to see out. Okay? For me, it's not that. It's about good and evil. And it's blatant. It's like choose a side. And God says, I would rather you be hot or cold than lukewarm. Lukewarm, I'd rather spew you out of my mouth. That's what he said. You got to make a choice. Do not think you not voting is keeping you neutral. As a Christian, you not voting is saying, well, if the evil comes, the evil comes. To me, you're almost voting for evil because you're not stopping. At the least, you're not stopping it. And we're here to stop it. We're here to push back. Our generation, we need to go, no, you're not doing this on our generation. In our generation, you're not. Because there is going to be a generation at some point. Well, let me take this back. I believe in the tribulation. Many of those of you who don't believe in the tribulation, you see yourself here during the tough times anyway. So if it gets tough, let's just go ahead and fast forward it. It doesn't work that way. It's God's timeline, So we should push back the evil as long as we can, more people can come to Christ. Because Satan wants to what? Steal, kill, and destroy. He's not here to keep us on this earth for a long time. That's not. He wants to fast forward everything. So this last great harvest that is coming, there's a great revival coming, doesn't happen. It's going to happen. And I want to encourage you as a Christian, your vote does matter. And if the only person that it matters to is God, and I know some will go, well, God's not into politics and he's not into that. He's not into politics. He's not into Democrats or Republican. Is it good or is it evil? Is it for him or against him? That's what he's for. And we're looking at a government right now that is against him. This government wants to take us to socialism. which will eventually just lead us to probably communism, dictatorship. Who knows who wants to take us over? We know China does. So are you just going to sit here and go, well, it's not my problem. I'll be dead in so many years anyways, and my kids will have to deal with it. Come on. Really? We have grandfathers that fought in the war for our right to vote. Can you imagine if way back when they started the voting process had good people just not voted? We would already be a communist country. But those votes and those righteous and choosing those righteous people push that evil back. And we've got 49% of the Christians saying they're not going to vote. I hope you're convicted by it. I don't want to judge you for not voting, but I'll be honest with you, I'm in firm disagreement with it. But that's between you and God, and it will be between you and God. I know I want to partner with God. I want to partner with the angels, and I want to push back this evil. And I don't want the type of government that we've had the last, almost 4 years. I don't want that here. I don't want that for me. I don't want it for my children. I don't want it for my future grandchildren. I'm going to fight. And if the only thing I can do to fight is to place a vote that takes me 30 minutes to get down there and vote, then that's what I'm going to do. And if the only person that sees it is God himself, I'm good. I hope this helps you kind of make a decision. I hope your mind isn't made. If you're already registered and you just weren't going to vote, I hope you choose to go vote. As a Christian, I hope you choose to vote this year because it matters. And don't think you're going to escape what would happen if you didn't. And honest, it's not like it's going to be all great if Trump does get in. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough because they don't want him there. But it's evil. It's just evil. Fear not, do not be dismayed, is what he says. God's got this. God's got it. And I'm a partner with him. And I hope you do. Have a good day. Hopefully, we'll see you at the polls.